independentleft.news.
Indie.
What's up, Indie?
IndieNews.Network.
Indie.
I get news from Independent Left.
IndependentLeft.news.
IndependentLeft.news.
Indie Left Media.
Independent Left News.
Indie Left.
Independent Left News.
Independent Left Media.
Indie Media.
Indie Left.
Indie.
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 Indie Left News.
Indie Left.
Hi, Indie.
Indie Left News.
Subscribe to IndieNews.Network.
We're world building.
Your way of assisting, I feel like, is really cool.
IndependentLeft.news.
Independent Left News.
I'm a huge fan.
He created INN.
The founder of Independent News Network.
Indie is the founder of IndieNews.Network.
Thank you, Independent Left.news.
A huge thank you and shout out to Indie Left.
Everyone, check out Indie Left News.
Hey, Indie Left.
IndependentLeft.news.
Indie.
Hi, Indie.
Indie Left. Indie Left News.
Indie News.
Independent Media.
Independent Left News has done an amazing job.
For
So the next story is really interesting. Came from Eric Schreiber at World Socialist website, wsws.org. Excellent site. One of the sources that we feature daily in Independent Left News. And then quite often their articles make it into leftist.today as well, which is a cut down version of Independent Left News. It's like just some top 5 articles and videos. So, okay, talking again, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters is helping to unionize, is campaigning to unionize Amazon. And why? Well, the union is fully committed to funding this initiative. Okay, Teamsters campaign has nothing to do with building worker power with Amazon. Now, this is going to be a criticism of what's going on here. It's an escalation of the drive by Biden's administration to bring workers under a form of state guardianship through the use of pro-capitalist trade unions. So this is, okay, under the previous attempt by the RWDSU to unionize a single Amazon warehouse in Bessemer, ended in a high-profile debacle for the union and the Democratic Party. Despite a full-court press by the media and the Democrats, okay, scarcely 1 in 8 eligible workers voted to bring it into the facility. And why? Because they hadn't really done, apparently, the work inside. And that's what they're saying is, okay, that the campaign against the union by Amazon management was relatively light. Then with the fact that the union refused to connect the campaign with any concrete demands, or even establish significant lines of contact among workers inside the facility. So again, this is a scathing criticism of what happened in Bessemer. The NLRB, meanwhile, is intervening to force a revote, another indication of the support for the campaign by the federal government, which is interesting. So they're skeptical of any time the federal government is getting involved to intervene on behalf of workers, because we all know that the federal government actually works on behalf of corporations.
What?
Right?
No.
So the considerable resources of the Teamsters.
You mean to tell me?
Wow, Teamsters are worth $500 million, more than $500 million, are being brought forward in an attempt to plug the breach. Okay, because they keep rejecting these deals, but Amazon workers need to be protected. The problem is, the gangster-ridden Teamsters. Yeah, that's not cool. Apparatus. I would think that Howie Hawkins would have something to say about that.
That's not cool. I mean, tell that to Scorsese.
Right.
That mafia stuff's not cool as well. You know, like
the Teamsters have enforced multi-tier wage structures, inadequate health benefits, and mandatory overtime. Moreover, the Teamsters regularly runs roughshod over the democratic rights of workers, and is infamous for its historical use of violence to force suppression. Maybe historically, like in the 50s and prior, but I haven't heard of Teamsters doing anything violent in decades. In 2018, he was an
probably for a reason.
To ratify a contract at UPS, which a majority of voters had rejected, which is also, again, every single deal that any union has ever made with any corporation, this organization and this publication sees as a sellout deal. Happy birthday, Darlene, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that I missed your birthday. I did wish you on Discord, but Darlene mentioned that it was her birthday, so I wanted to say happy birthday. 1 sec. Okay. So look at this. Under the present contract, starting hourly wage for part-time UPS workers is a mere $13. In contrast, warehouse workers at Amazon who don't belong to a union earn a starting wage of $15. Before this, they were even worse, only $10. Current UPS contract created a new category of lower-paid part-time drivers, which represents a significant attack on one of the few decent-paying positions left at the company. It all adds up to no bueno. And again, this is a long article. Amazon workers will not be able to take a single step forward through the mechanism of the Teamsters, according to this person's opinion. The way forward is by mobilizing their own independent strength outside the control of the union bureaucracy through rank and file committees, as Amazon workers in Baltimore, together with Dana Auto Parts workers, teachers, and other sections of the working class have already done.
First one is there Amazon unionization happening possibly in Canada? Pretty wild. And I saw this coming out of Truth Out through Popular Resistance. This was on the 9/19 evening edition. And again, you've got the Canadian warehouse could be the first to unionize in North America. Hey, how about that shit, right? So you've got a photo of the Teamsters locals that are outside the fulfillment center. Again, Teamsters Canada. So it is involving the Teamsters up north. I have seen some of the lefty organizations, especially World Socialist website, be skeptical of the Teamsters' involvement in Amazon hiring. Yeah. Wow. Did they need to replace people from a strike or what? Maybe. Wow. They're growing everywhere. They're taking over the world. So the struggle to unionize Amazon is shifting now to Canada. Workers at the YEG1 facility in Nisku, Alberta, filed a union election on Monday, September 13th. The election could be held in mere weeks, which is great once the labor board, their labor relations board, approves it. So that's between 600 and 800 associates, right? This is good news. You could see, okay, they're being asked to retrieve items every 9 to 12 seconds, and the jobs and wages are threatened when they can't keep up, and it's taking a toll on their bodies. Young, fit workers complaining about lower back and knee pain, things they shouldn't be having as they're trying to earn a living. And even if they're paying a living wage of $15 minimum, which I'm sure they are at this point, I believe they're doing that nationwide. Okay, again, this comes back to the union busting campaign. Amazon warehouse workers have unionized. Company waged several union busting campaigns, fend off the drives in North America. Yep. So you had Bessemer, which was shot down, but there are a lot of questions about exactly what went down, and there was a lot of threats to the people that wanted to unionize, and there was a lot of fishy business, let's call it, by Amazon in that fight. And I think there are several publications that have done a really good job of calling that out. Left Voice, I thought, was really good. They were on the ground just about every day. So, are we able to give Nikki mod status yet? No, not yet. What's going on here? Twitch dashboard, you're disappointing me. Can I see it yet? I'm looking right at Radical.
For some reason, the YouTube streams, right, decided to not go to your restream event. What? Like I see the event you made in the
hey modder
live section of YouTube Studio.
Yes.
Right? And it didn't go to the one you had set up in YouTube. It went to every other one, went to your Odyssey, went to Twitch, went to everything else with everything right. you know,
Oh,
but it also went on KRTD Media, which you turned off.
That's,
you know,
so Restream messed with me, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, something
because I did it
Restream
right. I know I did it right. So okay,
Yeah.
I can type in this
Like the
chat.
YouTube
Oh, how
link,
about
you
that?
probably
Well,
were
I just
posting
figured
all
it
day.
out that Nikki's already
Yeah.
modded, but thank you, Bones. Okay, so getting back to our Amazon unionization article. Sorry. All right. As the warehouse filed for a union election, Amazon Canada announced it would hire 15,000 new warehouse workers and raise hourly wages from 16 to between 17 and 21.65 Canadian per hour.
Right.
That's their minimum starting, but still, that's when you're breaking people's backs to do that. By the way, Shvenko defeats Murphy, TKO. That type of continuous improvement is harder to do quickly and nimbly with unions in the middle, is what they say. So they're fighting that they don't think that union. Of course, they don't think the unions are the best answer for their employees. Tell me when a company ever has. Teamsters Canada's Monet countered that narrative, saying that the union believes Amazon's pay raise came as a direct response to its unionization effort at NISCU, and that its wage hike is misleading because the company also eliminated a monthly bonus scheme that allowed workers to receive extra money for attendance and other productivity furthering behaviors. Nikki Hart, thank you. Claudia! What's up, Claudia? Hi, welcome. Good morning, because Claudia is in Poland. Claudia is OG friend, 18 months now. Love that woman. She's fantastic. And somewhere there's a GoFundMe or somewhere that she needs a laptop or a thing fixed, and one of these days she was going to fix up and work on some Spooktober graphics for me, or so she said, and hopefully we can see one of those someday, and that would be awesome. Yes, Amazon hired the Pinkertons. Everybody's dropping emoji and emotes on me. That's cool. I don't have the emotes yet set up in my stream, but I guess I'm gonna have to if I'm gonna be doing Twitch stuff. So again, I love it.
We can figure that out too. That's all Streamlabs stuff, I think.
Gosh darn Pinkertons. Yeah, they hired Pinkertons literally like in Bessemer. You're absolutely right. It's pretty amazing.
Yep. Oh, you know what that sound is?
I do know what that sound is.
Hey Google, stop. That's the Google overlord saying it's time to Google.
It's 420 somewhere.
Really? Yes, and yes, it is. It is 420 somewhere.
And it is time for that.
I do have Boncam installed.
Nice. All right, you know what? While we're doing Boncam, let's see if I can actually intelligently tweet this out and get people over to hang out on Twitch, and see if we can get more than 5 people
or on YouTube. Here, I can give you the I can send you the.
I can't even get to Twitter. I'm so
YouTube
lame.
link that's working.
I could do it from my phone.
I can give you the YouTube link that's working.
I see. It says KRTD News. Yeah. I'm just gonna go to.
Yeah, I fixed the title.
I was just gonna list
the title.
I was just gonna drop the page link and youtube.com/IndLeftNews, and that way they can get there and figure out which video it is.
Yep.
Oh, right there.
Here,
there we go. Hey, somebody actually just retweeted that. So now I'll retweet and say, "Come hang out in Twitch chat with
I don't understand
Mickey and Bones." Tweeted. Okay, now you've been tweeted. Now that you're mods, you can get tweeted like that. Okay, so Monette says Teamsters are building relationships with warehouse workers across Canada. Good news, and coordinating weekly to share information, best practices with union representatives in the U.S., where Teamsters unions have been fighting tax breaks. So now we're coordinating across North America. Excellent.
That one works. Why did that one work and the other one didn't?
What did
I sent you a YouTube link that works too.
Oh, thank you.
YouTube link that works.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to necessarily do anything with that yet, but we may. So, did I miss Boncam while I was trying to do my Twitter shit?
No, Boncam happened.
Oh, okay, no. So I missed
Boncam's
Boncam.
here.
Okay, nice. Bearded Boncam. Now I'm gonna make him laugh and blow back into it. That's the next step.
Yep. Eventually, we'll install Smell-O-Vision in our OBS.
Oh, dude, that'd be the greatest ever. It would be stinky.
Yep. It'd be stinky.
That's pretty funny that it's got the KRTD headline. Grr, KRTD. Everybody subscribe to KRTD Media as well. Shane, good dude.
Yep.
Joe, and of course, Reef produces a lot of the KRTD stuff on his OBS.
What? No.
What?
I don't click the buttons behind the curtain. No.
So we've spoken about the flawed NLRB process, problems with which are well documented, that's a tongue twister, and which I have been tested in the Amazon context already, said Teamsters National Amazon Director Randy Corrigan. So I guess this guy is responsible under the Teamsters for dealing or addressing Amazon nationally. Interesting. Organizing a labor union is far easier task in Canada than it is in the U.S., since Canadian labor law has much stronger rules against employer interference. At least 40% of workers must sign a union authorization card in order to apply. The Alberta LRB then holds a secret ballot election in which a union must receive a simple majority of votes to win. So Teamsters unions in Canada are more dependent from the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, with a higher degree of autonomy over locals and greater ability to elect their own leaders. It's really interesting. Amazon has already set up meetings with NISCU employees to attempt to dissuade them from unionizing. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, of course they did. Yeah.
While much about organizing in two countries is different, one of the ways in which the new union drive is similar is that Lake Bessemer, that opened in March of 2020, the NISCU warehouse is a newer facility reaching its 1-year anniversary just this month. Yeah, employee retention and turnover rate at the young Bessemer facility were among the challenges they were facing in their campaign. People kept leaving.
Right.
So it's hard to keep good people, and especially, again, you're paying $17-18 an hour to start. There's no other jobs around really for people to find. They're taking it until they basically break down, and then they have to get replaced. So that's why what we're seeing, what we're seeing there. I'm glad they're unionizing. Hopefully that these employees won't wash out and they'll be taken care of as they have these physical problems, and their working conditions will improve so they don't have these physical problems. That's the whole idea. But we're confident if we do this well, Amazon workers are going to be able to get this union. And it would be the first one in North America. It would be groundbreaking, and it would involve the Teamsters. You can see a picture of everybody standing outside the facility. So that's pretty badass. And Christian Smalls from Amazon on Direct Action is awesome. Yep. Love him. He goes live on Instagram as well. Workers are starting to wage battles at Amazon warehouses for unionization. And we saw Bessemer, we saw Staten Island 8, and I'm sure Tatiana and Molly are a formidable writing team. They wrote this last Sunday, and we did not, again, I curate the show all week, so by Saturday night, the show's pretty much set up, and I saw this, and I'm like, oh man, we need to put this in and talk about this, because 3 unions are, the 3 warehouses are fighting to unionize. Okay, 2 in Staten Island and 1 in Bessemer, which again we know about. So this is again Left Voice. Shout out to Left Voice for doing some great work this week and over the last couple of years since I've been paying attention to them. And thank you to Lee Camp for turning me on to Left Voice in the first place. I distinctly remember him sharing an article going, wow, I've never heard of these guys. And the more I see, I agree with quite a bit of what they publish, and I really appreciate their coverage. And you've got a crack writing team. And again, I encourage everybody to subscribe to email alerts and to them on Twitter, on Instagram, to share their articles, follow them. They're even on YouTube. I don't really see much of their videos in my feed. Maybe I'm not subscribed to them yet. Take a look at that. But Amazon, Bessemer, over 6,100 workers got a ballot yesterday for a mail-in election with a March 25th deadline. So last year, there was the effort failed, but there was a massive union busting campaign by corporate themselves. And again, Left Voice did an amazing job. They had people on the ground for a month, I believe, in Bessemer before the vote happened.
Right.
Documenting some of the tactics that were used by Amazon corporate, like forcing the workers to attend mandatory anti-union lectures. They pressured the city into changing the timing of the traffic light in order to disrupt organizing efforts. I remember that. The organizers were trying to catch the people at the traffic light after they left work and talk to them about the union. And so they got Amazon got the city to change the timing of the light so that they couldn't stand out there and have that conversation. Strong arm the postal service, right? They moved the mail, they installed the mailbox that was explicitly barred in the Amazon branded ballot collecting tent, which is illegal. And the NLRB determined that because of that, they ordered a new union vote, which is why we're seeing this. It's a year later. They literally delayed this for a year. They made it a whole lot bigger spectacle. Again, and that only got, I believe, 16 or 18% support. Again, we're hoping that it's gonna pass and it will get more support. Would it have even had that much support at all if they had drawn this much attention? I don't know.
Yeah. How does the mailbox fuck with stuff? I mean, I know it's been
the deal is that the bosses, it's a company branded tent. Apparently there was some kind of a monitor on who went in there, first of all. And then, based upon that, I'm sure they could look at the ballots and try to back into figuring out who submitted ballots for unionization. Right. So again, you've got JFK 8, which was again attempted to unionize but withdrew only to refile in December. And again, you've got Chris Smalls. He's one of the leaders who was fired from protesting Amazon's lack of safety measures. Shout out to Chris Smalls, friend of the show. Follow him on Instagram and follow him on Twitter at @ShutdownAmazon. Amazon is the country's second largest private employer after Walmart and is notorious for horrendous working conditions. Again, talking about some of the extremely hot warehouses without ventilation, talking about how it's so taxing on the body, the breaks, how you're literally measured down to the second. Multiple workers have died on the job at Amazon warehouses. Of course, we know about the 6 that died in the Kentucky warehouse, and 2 died at Bessemer. So we covered that. One suffered a stroke after being told by management that he couldn't leave, and hours later that worker died. I believe we even covered that. Then you had Pashan Brown, who was the person that died, and they don't even know if she died of COVID, but she was testing people with COVID for COVID. I mean, it's beyond crazy. So a couple of people that worked directly with him were badly shaken up, wanted to go home. We're not allowed to, right? So again, Striketober, they're referencing when we had Kellogg's and John Deere and a lot of these strikes that have since been settled. A lot of them, they didn't get what they had hoped for, and a lot of the things had not quite panned out the right way, but were touted in the mainstream press or even in the labor press as wins because they got minor concessions, or the company just said, look, we're not going to fire the employees. That was the concession that we're striking, which I didn't think was much of a concession. But certainly getting those people their jobs back would help. I mean, that's the reason why they were striking in the first place. But again, you've got dozens of Starbucks stores that are now filing to unionize, and we've been covering the Great Resignation and how I think it's 10% of the entire workforce in the last 2 years since the pandemic started has quit their job, if not more, or has changed jobs, or has lost a job.
Yep.
I think that might even be higher. But again, you've got the disconnect among the working class is also expressing itself in more direct ways through mobilization and action, which is excellent. Okay, again, we support direct worker action in all cases. Amazon warehouses in Chicago walked off the job, and they were demanding wage increases. And its success at Amazon may unleash a wave of unionization filings, which we're hoping to get. So again, as long as these unions are not co-opted, and that is one of the keys, is that you don't want union leadership to end up turning into its own corporate structure that then has to manage the relationship itself and gatekeep for the employees themselves. Okay, here you've got Daquan Smith, who was illegally fired for trying to unionize, which, again, they've been pretty well-known union busters. And shout out to Jordan Chariton. I know that he had sent me a link for a meeting that they filmed where they were not letting union leaders out of a meeting where they were talking anti-union type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how that story went. I can post a link to that. But here, as far as first Bessemer Amazon unionization drive showed, to win a union is not enough to rely on Democratic Party politicians and celebrity endorsements. Right. Okay. RWDSU was criticized from their own pages and Jane McAlevey, and saying that they had no structure, they had no grassroots movement. Because I asked Jane McAlevey, I asked her on Katie Halper's show specifically about that, because I was a mod and I got the chance to ask that because I'm also a patron of hers. But again, great article by Tatiana and Molly. Tatiana is definitely a member of the All-Star team, and Molly seems to be helping out with some of the background research. I don't know how much one's writing or the other, but there's actually another article. I don't know if it was yesterday or if we're going to cover it tonight, but there's another article that they just recently did as well that I thought was fantastic. So shout out to Tatiana, to Molly, to Left Voice. And that, again, like I said, check out Left Voice. If you're not subscribed to them already, they're one of the better publications that I prefer to check out. And again, none of them are perfect. All of them have takes that we're going to disagree with, but this is one of the better ones out there. I support them 100%. So now, what's up, man?
I talked to a guy who's normally in chat, Oz Whistles.
Yes.
Right? Dude's over Ireland, UK.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was talking about the you know, their guild situations, right? Which are like similar to, you know, unions in a way, but much more like hard-lined into the politics of like the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, yeah, the Builders Guild has been around for like centuries, you know.
Oh yeah, the trade
it's like they've weeded out a lot of like, right, it's now like ingrained, and it's to the point where like, yeah, they have stuff like apprenticeships and stuff like that are like royally declared, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like there's you know, like the Queen's Ferry or whatever needs a replacement, so they teach a bunch of farriers. Like they have whole schools to teach them, you know? Like
like apprenticeships
but-
and like the whole
Right.
I mean, come on, that's where all that stuff kind of came from. That
comes
whole
from,
structure.
like, yeah.
Workers are starting to wage battles at Amazon warehouses for unionization. And we saw Bessemer, we saw Staten Island 8, and I'm sure Tatiana and Molly are a formidable writing team. They wrote this last Sunday, and we did not, again, I curate the show all week, so by Saturday night, the show's pretty much set up, and I saw this, and I'm like, oh man, we need to put this in and talk about this, because three warehouses are fighting to unionize. Okay, 2 in Staten Island and 1 in Bessemer, which again we know about. So this is again Left Voice. Shout out to Left Voice for doing some great work this week, and over the last couple of years since I've been paying attention to them. And thank you to Lee Camp for turning me on to Left Voice in the first place. I distinctly remember him sharing an article and going, wow, I've never heard of these guys. And the more I see, you know, I agree with quite a bit of what they publish, and I really appreciate their coverage. And they've got a crack writing team. And again, I encourage everybody to subscribe to email alerts and to them on Twitter, on Instagram, to share their articles, follow them. They're even on YouTube. I don't really see much of their videos in my feed. Maybe I'm not subscribed to them yet. Take a look at that. But Amazon, Bessemer, over 6,100 workers got a ballot yesterday for a mail-in election with a March 25th deadline. So last year, there was the effort failed, but there was a massive union-busting campaign by corporate themselves. And again, Left Voice did an amazing job. They had people on the ground for a month, I believe, in Bessemer before the vote happened.
Right.
Documenting some of the tactics that were used by Amazon corporate, like forcing the workers to attend mandatory anti-union lectures. They pressured the city into changing the timing of the traffic light in order to disrupt organizing efforts. I remember that. The organizers were trying to catch the people at the traffic light after they left work and talk to them about the union. And so they got Amazon got the city to change the timing of the light so that they couldn't stand out there and have that conversation. Strong arm the postal service, right? They moved the mail, they installed the mailbox that was explicitly barred in the Amazon branded ballot collecting tent, which is illegal. And the NLRB determined that because of that, they ordered a new union vote, which is why we're seeing this. It's a year later. They literally delayed this for a year. They made it a whole lot bigger spectacle. You know, again, and that only got, I believe, 16 or 18% support. Again, we're hoping that it's gonna pass and it will get more support. Would it have even had that much support at all if they had drawn this much attention? I don't know.
Yeah. How does the mailbox fuck with stuff? I mean, I know it's been
the deal is
like
that the bosses, it's a company branded tent. Apparently there was some kind of a monitor on who went in there, first of all. And then, you know, based upon that, I'm sure they could look at the ballots and try to back into figuring out who submitted ballots for unionization. So again, you've got JFK 8, which was again attempted to unionize but withdrew only to refile in December. And again, you've got Chris Smalls. He's one of the leaders who was fired from protesting Amazon's lack of safety measures. Shout out to Chris Smalls, friend of the show. Follow him on Instagram and follow him on Twitter at @ShutdownAmazon. Amazon is the country's second largest private employer after Walmart and is notorious for horrendous working conditions.
Again, talking about some of the extremely hot warehouses without ventilation, talking about how it's so taxing on the body, the breaks, how you're literally measured down to the second. Multiple workers have died on the job at Amazon warehouses. Of course, we know about the 6 that died in the Kentucky warehouse, and 2 died at Bessemer. So we covered that. One suffered a stroke after being told by management that he couldn't leave, and hours later that worker died. I believe we even covered that. Then you had Pashan Brown, who was the person that was died, and they don't even know if she died of COVID, but she was testing people with COVID for COVID. I mean, it's beyond crazy.
Yeah.
So a couple of people that worked directly with him were badly shaken up, wanted to go home. We're not allowed to, right? Here, so again, Striketober, they're referencing when we had Kellogg's and John Deere and a lot of these strikes that have since been settled. A lot of them, they didn't get what they had hoped for, and a lot of the things had not quite panned out the right way, but were touted in the mainstream press or even in the labor press as wins because they got minor concessions, or the company just said, look, we're not going to fire the employees. That was the concession that we're striking, which I didn't think was much of a concession. But certainly getting those people their jobs back would help. I mean, that's the reason why they were striking in the first place. But again, you've got dozens of Starbucks stores that are now filing to unionize, and we've been covering the Great Resignation and how I think it's 10% of the entire workforce in the last 2 years since the pandemic started has quit their job, if not more, or has changed jobs, or has lost a job.
Yep.
I think that might even be higher. But again, you've got the disconnect among the working class is also expressing itself in more direct ways through mobilization and action, which is excellent. Okay, again, we support direct worker action in all cases. Amazon warehouses in Chicago walked off the job, and they were demanding wage increases. And its success at Amazon may unleash a wave of unionization filings, which we're hoping to get. So again, as long as these unions are not co-opted, and that is one of the keys, is that you don't want union leadership to end up turning into its own corporate structure that then has to manage the relationship itself and gatekeep for the employees themselves. Okay, here you've got Daquan Smith, who was illegally fired for trying to unionize, which, again, they've been pretty well-known union busters. And shout out to Jordan Chariton. I know that he had sent me a link for a meeting that they filmed where they were not letting union leaders out of a meeting where they were talking anti-union type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how that story went. I can post a link to that. But here, as far as first Bessemer Amazon unionization drive showed, to win a union is not enough to rely on Democratic Party politicians and celebrity endorsements. Right. Okay. RWDSU was criticized from their own pages and Jane McAlevey, and saying that they had no structure, they had no grassroots movement. Because I asked Jane McAlevey, I asked her on Katie Halper's show specifically about that, because I was a mod and I got the chance to ask that because I'm also a patron of hers. But again, great article by Tatiana and Molly. Tatiana is definitely a member of the All-Star team, and Molly seems to be helping out with some of the background research. I don't know how much one's writing or the other. Well, there's actually another article. I don't know if it was yesterday or if we're going to cover it tonight, but there's another article that they just recently did as well that I thought was fantastic. So shout out to Tatiana, to Molly, to Left Voice. And that, again, like I said, check out Left Voice. If you're not subscribed to them already, they're one of the better publications that I prefer to check out. And again, none of them are perfect. All of them have takes that we're going to disagree with, but this is one of the better ones out there. I I support them 100%. So
The
now, what's up, man?
I talked to a guy who's normally in chat, Oz Whistles.
Yes.
Right? Dude's over Ireland, UK.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was talking about the you know, their guild situations, right? Which are like similar to, you know, unions in a way, but much more like hard-lined into the politics of like the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, yeah, the Builders Guild has been around for like centuries. You know,
Oh yeah, the trade.
It's like they've weeded out a lot of like, right. It's now like ingrained, and it's to the point where like, yeah, they have stuff like apprenticeships and stuff like that that are like royally declared. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like there's, you know, like the Queen's Farrier or whatever needs a replacement, so they teach a bunch of farriers. Like they have whole schools to teach them. You know. Like
like apprenticeships and like the whole.
Right.
I mean, come on, that's where all that stuff kind of came from. That
comes
whole
from like,
and it's going to have a theme, and it's going to be, unfortunately, mega union busting. Damn.
Okay.
All right. So what's going on? So first thing is, Scott Cooper over at Left Voice, he's one of the veterans there. He's been writing over there for a long time, labor movement stuff. They launched an anti-union website. Unreal. So
okay, sure.
Right? So they've released an anti-union website of its own and advised that people have fun checking it out. Chock full of we're all in this together, partner drivel, right? So as the movement for unionization expands, not all bosses take this carrot and stick approach, but Starbucks has launched its friendly website only days after firing 7 union organizers, right? And that we covered last week, the Memphis 7.
Yep.
So reading through the FAQ, you'd think that they're all about helping employees make an informed decision, right? But it's all about basically saying no and how and why they should say no.
Yeah.
So the FAQ begins with why are they providing this? And it's because they're hearing from union organizers and the bosses are whining that they should hear from us too. Uh-huh. So, hey, how about that? Thanks, boss.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take long to reach much of a provocative question, right? Second on this, what can I do if another partner won't leave me alone about supporting a union, right?
Of course.
Unbelievable. Like already yes, it can be annoying and you don't want to hear if you don't want to hear anymore, but it's still legally protected. So show kindness and respect already. Like don't be hostile, but tell someone.
Right.
But before encouraging them to rat out their coworkers and providing a phone number at corporate, like who's harassing them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Will they quit working if the union is voted in? A couple of people that said that they will. Best thing that we can all do is provide the facts and opinions so every partner can make informed decisions, right? This is very corporate speak. This is very washed through legal, coded language that's designed to steer people a certain way. And then they'll have bosses and meetings and meetings with bosses, and then they'll announce like, hey, we're having a company wide thing where it's not mandatory to show up, but it's optional.
Right.
And then we saw something earlier this week where they excluded the union leaders from sitting in on the meeting because they were trying to bash the unions. So NLRB administrative judge ruled that Starbucks had unlawfully retaliated against 2 Philadelphia baristas who had been working to unionize their location. And this is happening all over, really. Starbucks is doing this, and this is the theme that we're going to talk about today, because it's not just Starbucks that's taking this kind of action. Of course, we've heard in the past about some of the others, and I've got a couple of other examples here tonight. So again, the NLRB is authorized to stop the unfair practice more immediately, but rarely does so. and what it calls excessive delays. I mean, this is what's going on. Time-honored attack on union dues, right? They get their revenue from dues, and that's going to go to fund the union. So again, it's very anti-union rhetoric. It's anti-worker rhetoric. It's anti-organizing rhetoric, and which makes it anti-worker rhetoric in the end, because it's pro-capitalism. It's pro-corporate profits.
Right. If you tell a worker, hey, look, like $5 out of your paycheck is going to go so that we can have lawyers get paid if you need to, like, legally combat the company, or, so that you get benefits at the end, or, any of those things. Like, if you told those people that, they'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But if you say union dues, like,
it scares everybody.
It's somehow scary.
Well, not only that, but there are certain rights and certain things that they scare you that you're going to be giving up as the member of a union. So right. So we certainly don't want to see that. Nevertheless, research has proven again that being the member of a union and paying dues associated with a significant premium in pay, even if you're paying dues in this country, and that it's how much? A 17% median weekly earning over non-unionized workers.
Yeah.
I don't know about versus those that are, union. I guess they're all, that are in a co-op or other things. But again, that's non-unionized. That's part of it. But it's associated with greater benefits, right? So that they have job-related health coverage, but that number is much, much lower for non-unionized workers.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
it makes sense.
Pretty substantial article. Yep. Retailers like Target and Walmart have used similar arguments in their own propaganda against unions. I'm a big fan of Scott Cooper and Left Voice, like I've been saying. They've been doing some excellent work lately. So shout out to them for covering what's going on with this Starbucks website, and he did actually include a link to it. I think that's right here. It's one.starbucks.com. We are one Starbucks. I mean, it's very flowery corporate speak. It's yes, we need the protections of unions. The union in general has more power collectively to fight against management, because they can do the one thing that an individual cannot, which is hold out the collective labor from management and stop the profitability of the organization.
Yeah.
So this is, again, what the partner benefits are, and how much did Starbucks spend on this in alone, just making this website. Yeah. So very interesting. It can take 12 to 13 months for a union. So they're giving you facts. Yeah. I think that there is no opt-out. So, it's fear-mongering tactics, because they don't want a union.
Yep.
I think it would be interesting if you actually put it to a vote to the shareholders, to the general shareholders, not to the majority shareholders that actually vote as a publicly traded company. I think you'd find that a lot of them actually did support a union for the employees. So, and I did hear a couple things about, like, how somebody wanted you to go into the store and say, we believe in unionizing, and say that's what your name is. First name is we love, last name unions. And they're like, if we yell that out in the store, then we'll get fired, we'll get fined, and we'll get in trouble. Like, damn, okay. So that's what's going on with the Starbucks propaganda. I'm going to take it off the screen because I don't even want to show it anymore. But the second story here is this REI workers. So again, REI, another retail outlet where the employees are trying to unionize, and the company this is the Lower Manhattan store. All-star Sharon Zhang. Thank you again, Sharon Zhang, doing stellar work as she does every week. And nobody gets it all right all the time, but she's one of the people that I trust and rely on for accurate, quality data and great articles. And I think that we've got several people in here like that this week. Actually, just about everybody we cover. Really, really solid stuff. Again, we've curated and we've read a ton of mainstream and independent media, and this is we pick one story basically per day at this point. Maybe a second one, but curating all of this. This is what we're finding in a 7-day stretch, and we're updating this stuff 7 days a week. I'm putting out a ton of content. So, again, unionizing REI workers in Lower Manhattan launched a petition requesting that they stop its union busting campaign.
Yeah.
Soho, they filed to unionize last month, refused to voluntarily recognize the union, even though they constantly tout its supposedly progressive values, right? Collaborative working environment. They pulled out intimidation tactics and other anti-union moves. So what are they saying? And here's a link to the petition again. Here's a link in the chat to the article itself. I'll drop that in there. Okay. So in the petition, they're saying that the employer's been forcing workers to attend anti-union meetings, company executives, like I was exactly talking about, where they kind of discourage you, but there's nothing on the record. They have you attend these mandatory meetings. Sometimes it's a one-on-one. Sometimes it's in a group setting where there's a manager talking in front of a whole group of people that are at similar or multiple levels. Anti-union flyers are getting handed out. I know there's been stuff placed in company bathrooms.
Yeah.
Right? They filed for representation with the retail, wholesale, and department store union, which is what the Amazon workers, I remember, were trying to also organize through. That's the RWDSU. So again, though the company touts that it's a co-op, employees say management doesn't hold true to its values, to its purported values at least. Right. So much like Starbucks is, they need union representation, unsafe working conditions, a tangible shift in culture at work that doesn't seem to align with the values that brought most of us here. Right. Again, I'm not sure if that's protective gear or time off for sick time or more to take care of family if they have gotten sick, or time off if you have the effects of the jabby jab if you decide to go get one.
Right.
To all of us, that means employees need a seat at the table. And again, so they're trying to unionize rather than just co-op, which also is interesting. But what they're saying is that as a co-op, they're not really, it's really structured more top down, and the bosses are getting the lion's share of the say, and they're not being properly represented. So again, progressive customers been frustrated. 25-minute on its anti-union website. Another one that had an anti-union website. Similarly to Starbucks. See, again, and Sharon's all over it. She knows right there. REI's is chock full of misinfo about unions, contains vague threats about how any union... What I'd like to see her do is actually go through and point by point take apart what misinformation and vague threats about how any union contract made of cutting hours or benefits, or that again it's final. So that's what's going on at REI. And then we've also got our friends and our not so much friends, Amazon's anti-union scare tactics. What are they doing?
Yep. Probably I'm betting a website.
Well, it's more than that, but yes. They said they might try to cut pay to the minimum wage if workers vote in favor of unionizing. I don't even know how they could do that. I mean, not with state and federal laws. Big shout out to Kenny Stansel. He's been knocking it out this week. He had like 4 or 5 articles that made the top 7 or 8, and that's that every day. That's pretty solid this week out of 7 days. So, again, during a mandatory anti-union meeting Wednesday, again, mandatory. That's what they're doing to these guys. And I think this is Staten Island. This is one of the Staten Island warehouses. But this union buster said that the negotiation phase of the process is called collective bargaining. And in the negotiation, there are no guarantees. You could end up with better, the same, or worse than you already have. So again, they're saying that they're going to actually lose ground, potentially collective bargaining, which traditionally has not really happened. JFK 8, like I said, it's a sprawling one in Staten Island. We've covered JFK 8. and we covered that three Amazon warehouses are currently in the process of attempting to unionize.
Yep.
I'll tell you, Chris Legion did a phenomenal video about the hidden ways that corporations union bust and discourage unionization among their employees, and how they punish people that even talk about it. Right? So, again, supporting all the workers, exposing that this union busting is happening, and that corporations are afraid. The reason why they're doing this is because they're afraid. They're discouraging their workers from organizing and from collectively bargaining with them. And look at that. ALU is led by our friend Chris Smalls, friend of the show, former employee at JFK, who was fired after he organized a walkout protest almost 2 years ago. Can you imagine? We've been following Chris Smalls' life and story, and Chris Smalls has been a crazy, a passionate activist out there for almost 2 years at this point. That's just remarkable. I mean, we heard about him because he was talking about how there was no protective gear in the Amazon warehouses, and he wasn't going to stand for it. And it's really frightening, and they did nothing to really protect him and protect the people in the warehouse. And in the end, he ended up being fired. Okay, mostly for being for being a mouthpiece and for speaking out against the company and for being a whistleblower. Again, more than 100 workers are organizers for the independent union. They filed nearly 24 complaints with the NLRB, alleging that they illegally threaten employees. Loss of pay. This is what happened in Bessemer. We know about all of this, and we talked about this last month. And again, NLRB throughout the settlement, throughout the results of the election, because of the amount of influence that the company had tried to illegally impart on the process and on the outcome of the election. Where I believe only about 16 or 17% of the total employees voted at all. And then they got a terrible showing on top of it. Right?
Yeah, they got crumbs pretty much, if anything.
Again, it is illegal for employers to prevent, interfere with, or retaliate against any employee's unionization efforts. Have to go be 100% clear. This is illegal.
Yep.
Who's going to enforce it? And that's what the company's counting on. That they've bought all the jailers. They've bought all the cops on the street. Here, make the threat and try to walk it back, but once you poison the well, you can't take it back. Doesn't mean the threat wasn't made and heard by all. Yeah, great. Okay, it's just like when you say something in front of a jury and it's like, strike that from the record. Great. Jury still heard it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just means that in the future, when somebody reads about the case, they can't read what the jury actually was influenced by. It's actually kind of bad in a lot of ways.
Right.
So again, this keeps going. Great job, Kenny. I'm trying to get them, the Common Dream staff, for some interviews on upcoming Friends of Indie Left, and I've reached out to them and we started to have some conversations, so look for that hopefully in the upcoming future. But I'm a huge fan of this outlet. Look, again, not everyone is perfect. Some of them have takes and angles that we're going to disagree with, but this is one of the best ones out there, and they routinely, on a daily basis, put out quality stories, and they, in my opinion, have the best overall writing staff of 7, 8, 10 people when you collectively add them up together. Just every single one of them, top quality, great content, great takes, and great writing. So shout out to Common Dreams. And we're going to have a couple more Common Dreams articles coming up. But that's the end of our labor segment, and we covered labor a bunch last week. This is more union bustings that's happening, and I think everybody really needs to hear about this. And again, it's not just Amazon, it's Starbucks, it's REI, it's a lot of these Fortune 500 companies that are just scared because their employees are actually getting together and saying, "We deserve better. We're not gonna take this anymore." So. Friend of the show is Chris Smalls. Wrong one.
Oh, I love him.
So Chris Smalls found himself. I'm sorry, Warren, for your eyeballs. I don't know what happened. I had these open in dark mode. Chris Smalls found himself arrested this week. So three union organizers, including Amazon union president Chris Smalls, were arrested for trespassing. And what were they doing? They were bringing pizza and they were talking. This was outside JFK 8 warehouse in Staten Island, according to Business Insider. I won't go to Business Insider. They're corporate mainstream media. I'm not a big fan of their stuff. But not the first time police have been called to this particular warehouse. They've been giving Chris a hard time. And I actually was alerted to this because Jordan Chariton was over and had a cameraman over at the warehouse live while he was talking to the cops. So I was able to kind of get this on the live feed. This is a 5-minute and 50-second video. And he's just sitting there talking with them most of the time. I can share this, unmute it for a second. Let me. This is where it actually starts to get physical.
What is the charge? I'm not trespassing. Trespass. I'm a visitor. 10 seconds.
Cipriano, if you do that, if you attack him, that'll be. Put hands on him. He's putting hands on him. No. Ooh. He's a worker. He works here. What are you doing? Hold on. Stop. Get your hands off of him. He's a worker. No, you're not doing it. What am I under arrest? All they do is just wait. No, are you resisting it? That's resisting arrest. Y'all are fucked. Let me go. I'm not gonna.
So we got Chris Smalls and the camera person who actually is an Amazon employee himself. He's an invited guest on the property. Amazon didn't want him there. They called the cops. This has been an ongoing thing. And that's one of the things that they were talking about. The arrest came after the food was given in the break room. Okay, we were just giving out free grilled chicken and pasta to all the workers in the break room. The arrest came right after they were done. GM said they came out, said they were calling the cops. I mean, so once he got out, I'm free and I'm not stopping. He's telling everybody to unionize. Big fan, big supporter, Chris. I sent him messages of solidarity. He sent me DM that night, said he was okay. And then there was this article that I found in Reuters that night. Well, it turns out that Amazon has been accused of violating labor law for what they did in calling the cops and having Chris arrested as a labor leader. And I don't know if anybody's, I'm guessing that some people have already talked about this part of it, but that, okay, workers are voting to unionize on March 25th. So they're trying to get people into, to support this union. And of course, Amazon has been fighting this every step of the way. We've been covering, again, the unfair labor practices. Now, this is specifically a charge with regard to trying to stop an organizer, I believe. Okay. Brett Daniels and Jason Anthony arrested on Wednesday in retaliation for their involvement with the union. Christian Smalls previously worked at the warehouse and was fired, of course, we know, in March of 2020 after COVID started. Okay. Amazon spokesman said that the settlement pertains to the rights of employees to solicit on the company's property, and we did nothing to stop employees from soliciting. Shady. Again, they just don't want their employees to organize and to actually look. The RWDSU filed charges with the NLRB accusing them of unlawfully interfering in the election. And you can see that right here. And that was, again, in Bessemer. So that also continues. So Daniel Wiesner for Reuters, again, not a huge fan of corporate news, and we know that these guys are one of the mouthpieces for imperialism. But I have to say that they're at least following the story, and they at least have the budget to be able to do so. So solidarity with Chris Small, solidarity with the Amazon workers. This is a rough situation. Again, I want to see them unionize. I want to see Amazon held to account. I want to see Amazon take care of its people. What do you think, Nolly? I know you're a fan of Chris.
I am, and the thing that really infuriates me is the fact that they do he was searched 4 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else, just him.
Yeah.
They deliberately mess with people who are once you're a target, you're a target. And I don't care if a cop says, "I don't know you from Adam." 9 times out of 10, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
They know exactly who you are, what you've been up to, and probably who you're doing. It's ridiculous the amount of information that they are privy to, and they get into that information even when they're not supposed to. Like, they will run your plates in when when you haven't broken the law. You're not allowed to do that. They are not allowed to do that. They have to have cause
to run your plates. Sure.
Yeah. And
Wow.
But they do it anyway, and that's how so many people get stopped for stupid crap like driving on a suspended or whatever, which is no longer a thing here in the state that I'm in, which, thank God. If you can't pay your fine, they can't take your license because you couldn't pay or because you didn't show up to court. The only way they can do that is if it is a crime, if there is a victim. So all the people who, if you're in Washington State, there's a few other states that have done it, check your local laws because they have recently changed them in several states, including mine, to where you can go back and get your driver's license, even if you have unpaid tickets.
Oh, wow.
So don't risk stupid shit by not having insurance or whatever and risking an accident. Go get your damn license back if you can. If it's because you didn't show up to court or it's because you couldn't pay your fines, they have to give it back to you.
Wow.
They've actually found it to be unconstitutional to do that.
Amazing.
And it also does a lot of harm and affects like the people of lower class or of lower income the most. So with your states, I think there's 12 states now that have enacted these new laws. So your state could be one of them. What they're doing to Chris is disgusting, and I'd like to say it's going to stop, but I'm worried it's only going to get worse.
Amazon labor.
Ooh.
So now, hell, Amazon defeated New York City, unionize everywhere, right? So we've got a socialist alternative article, and this was actually written by an Amazon worker on April 2nd after they voted yes. So I thought it was really important to get the voice of an actual Amazon worker out there, because you hear so many people talking, but I really don't hear very many people talking to the people that go into these warehouses and drive the trucks and do this stuff. Actually, the trucks are outsourced, but the people who are working in the warehouses and picking every day. Okay. And so this is, again, their words. This decisive result proves once and for all that the richest and most powerful companies in the world can be defeated. Workers are fed up with the deplorable working conditions and wages that allowed Jeff Bezos to become the richest man in the world, launching himself into space in July last year, with just 3 months after the major union drive-in Bessemer was defeated in April. Amazon's greed and arrogance finally met a rude awakening. So, again, here, let me put this link in chat. I want everyone to go and give that a like and a follow, and look this random Amazon person up and share this on behalf of the voice of the workers at Amazon. They're now heading into this April 25th vote at the neighboring LDJ 5 facility. All right, with a huge amount of momentum. However, Amazon will continue to play dirty and use everything at their disposal to throw up results, gum up the legal process, and undermine the fight for a strong contract at JFK 8, which begins immediately. Has already begun. All right, because this was 8 days ago. Company announced their opening line of attack minutes after the election in a statement accusing the NLRB of tipping the election in ALU's favor, referencing complaints filed to the board alongside the National Retail Federation and Chamber of Commerce. And that's one of the things that I'm about to also cover, is one of the ways that they're trying to go at Chris Smalls and at this union. Again, Amazon leads by razor tight margin in Bessemer. That's also, last year they manipulated this so badly, and we covered that last year, that they were forced by the NLRB to do a do-over because of their union busting tactics. And there were scores of union busting tactics that were unearthed. So this is no time to pull back. We need to keep up the pressure. $30 hourly wage. Absolutely. Again, talking to my boomer father about $15 an hour wage, and he even will admit that $15 is not enough really to live on in today's society, and that he's got friends that's what they spend in a day is what these people is what $15 or $30 an hour people make in a week. That's $600 a week. They'll spend $600 in a day playing golf and going out to dinner. But to not think that everybody is at least should have the freedom and the time to be able to earn a living wage so that they can spend time with their family and still be able to work a respectable job. I mean, there is the money there. It's in a lot of cases it's straight up greed, and it's people who are extreme haves just giving the have-nots just enough to live and starving them out for the rest, which is it's not a sustainable society. ALU has a special responsibility. Again, this is somewhat long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. All right, I will go right to the end and say the decisive victory at JFK 8 in Staten Island may well be a catalyst to organizing at Amazon, logistics industry as a whole, and even well beyond, combined with the ongoing struggle for a union at Starbucks. Today's victory could be a major turning point for the labor movement and lay the basis for a mass wave of unionization in the months and years ahead. But building on it will require drawing the right lessons from the struggle so far. The incredible courage of the JFK 8 workers will be a continual source of inspiration to workers across the country and the world. And let's go out and organize the unorganized and unionize Amazon everywhere. So great that he wrote this for Socialist Alternative. Love that. Long piece again, but so worth it to hear his thoughts. And the fact that only 1,000 people have read this is kind of shameful. I want to see that number increase, and this should be seen by millions, because we need to hear the voices of the people that go into that warehouse every day and do the work. They need to have a voice, and thankfully they now have one. And thanks to our friend, that guy, Christian Smalls. He's one of the leaders who stood up early on in pandemic, who now is the president of the Amazon Labor Union, and has now said, and now this was in Truth Out during the week. Again, Sharon Zhang, Truth Out, member of the All-Star team, one of the best writers out there. Follow her, Zhang_Sharon on Twitter. April 5th, this was published. Again, Amazon Labor Union, Christian Smalls wrote on Twitter, workers at over 50 locations had contacted the union since their win about unionizing. Huge. Union won by over 500 votes, but it was still pretty tight. And now there's a couple things that have happened in the immediate wake of that. Again, Chris says we want to thank Jeff Bezos for going to space, because when he was up in there, we were signing people up. Freaking low. He's so great.
Yeah.
Congrats.
People should go check out, the full clip from INN where we covered this too.
Yep.
It's pretty
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah. They did a whole, they did cover this in depth, and I don't want to cover it because Reef and the guys did cover it on Tuesday, but I did want to do a follow-up to what's happening now. So Amazon accusing the union, the NLRB, of interfering and acting on behalf of the union too much, and here you go. But what's even worse is surrounded by mutual accusations of misconduct, which there was definitely on the Amazon side. But this guy, I'm not a big fan of using mainstream publications. However, Forbes in this case did a really good job of summarizing it. So what happened on Friday, they filed a sheaf of objections with the NLRB, accusing them of suppressing the vote by providing only 3 booths for over 8,000 potential voters and of applying a double standard to pro-union and anti-union T-shirts. Give me, really? T-shirts? When they prevented and suppressed the word union from going in the app? When they made their people actually sit through meetings? And here, Amazon further accused the labor organizers of threatening employees if they voted against the union. And, of course, they had to go down, this is as low as it comes, bribing employees with marijuana. Right. First of all, you didn't have to bribe anybody with weed to join a union at work, dude. Give me a break. This is an absolute smear. This is the thugging.
Also, have they seen how weed works? Do they know that like bribing someone with weed is going to get them to not do anything?
It's beyond.
They're just going to get on the couch for a while,
and it's a racist dog whistle that happened by a bunch of white people that run this company. All right, don't think that we don't see it, and we're not calling that nonsense out right there. All right, this is the hoodlum and his marijuana that he's offering to give to the workers, and of course they're going to take it and they'll do whatever he wants because he's the Pied Piper. Give me a break. That is nonsense.
Yeah,
garbage. All right, NLRB spokesperson confirmed the board had received their objections, but that all NLRB enforcement actions against Amazon have been consistent with the board's mandate to enforce the NLR Act. All right. Amazon has a history of jousting with the NLRB, which in December resolved 6 cases with the board, agreeing to notify its workers, that they have the right to start or join a union, meaning that they had not done that before. Amazon's acting on the up and up, sure, that the company can't penalize them for legally protected organizing activities, which clearly they were doing because otherwise they wouldn't have had to admit that, yes, we can't do these things. This has got me so heated and so fired up and so angry because of what they're doing and how they're trying to come at the workers, because the workers finally got a victory, and that's never allowed to happen. All right?
Yeah.
New York Times reported Amazon had forbidden employees at Staten Island warehouse from staying in company break rooms or parking lots, a measure that would have made organizing significantly more challenging and was explicitly forbidden by the company's December agreement with the NLRB. And then again, this is quite in depth. This will be in the show notes. I will drop this in the chat. And I'm not a big fan again of Forbes and of the narratives and everything else they put out. But I did want to mention that this is the narrative that they're trying to put out right now against the workers. This is how they're coming at Chris right now. We have to stand strong with him, and we have to call out this garbage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't need to give people weed to organize a union. This is a joke.
Right.
Couldn't make me angry.
Well, and the fact that they even like allowed them to voice that, like, they gave them what is like, now every anti-union person is going to be saying that forever.
Yep.
You don't even have to put that in the article. Like,
nope.
And
again,
the Washington Post, is going to have that.
The one thing that my boomer dad knew about what happened with Amazon. You hear that the guy tried to give the employees weed?
Weed?
I said,
like,
first
God
of all,
forbid.
you smoke weed, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
And second of all, yeah, that's how they're trying to smear this guy. I said, I know this guy. I've been connected to this guy.
PTSD of working at Amazon.
Forget about any of that. Forget about where it's legally allowed and everything else. But it's the whole thing is, but just using that smear because they know that the old people, again, this is reefer madness over and over again, and it's the fear of the green planet. Again, you see me, I'm the bong father. I certainly have no fear of a green planet, and that's one of the things that made me so damn angry about this. That as widely accepted right now as the cannabis industry is becoming, something like this is being used to hold that entire movement back. And again, we're calling this out.
Reefer.
That's right. The fucking reefer. Thank you, Joey Diaz.
Yeah. Fucking reefer.
The fucking reefer.
That's dumb. That's just dumb nonsense. Like, But everyone should go check out, I put it in chat, the open letter to Chris Smalls that we made. People should share that around. Tag him on Twitter. I don't care.
I DM'd it to him.
Do what you will with that.
But yeah, definitely. Let's make sure he sees this and hears this. Essentially what Reef is doing an open call to say, don't sell out. Don't forget about the people behind you, the people who amplified you, and come down to some of these independent channels. And hey, we have friends of Indie Left would be happy to interview you, and INN News would certainly love to hear about what's next and get some guidance on organizing and some of the tactics and things, and speak to the community that helped lift you up and stood behind you when nobody else would. And you drew some similarities. Again, I encourage everybody to go watch this video on INN News, and that's on IndieNews.Network on YouTube. And you can go to the INN.
I put it in chat up above a little bit.
Go and chat at Get Indie News on Twitter, and you'll be able to also find that on Indie News Network's Twitter account. And this is where you want to talk about labor. Let's hear from labor. Let's hear from labor, like our friend Shadowman talked about. It's an attack against all workers. A fired Amazon union worker speaks out, and I wanted to amplify his story, which was in Left Voice, Tristan Lyon, and you'll be able to see a picture of him right here. That's him. I know that guy back there. You know that guy?
I do know that guy. I do know that guy.
So, this man is Tristan Lyon. I am Tristan Lyon, and I've been organizing in Amazon for a union for about a year. Been organizing to fight for job security, better pay, better breaks, and overall to make Amazon a job where people would like to stay. I was just recently fired because I took up this fight together with hundreds of my coworkers. Workers at JFK 8 were the first to win. Were the first union at an Amazon facility in the country to win. That victory not only helped me and my coworkers become a more organized force to fight for what we want at the job, it also showed workers around the country that they could win unions for themselves. This win for the workers has clearly been a nightmare for people like Jeff Bezos, who profit off exploiting the workforce, just as we're exploited at our facility in Staten Island. Don't forget, because of our work, Amazon made $33 billion in 2021. The day Amazon fired me, they had me work almost the whole day, then sent me home, telling me not to return. Even when targeting me, they made sure to get every last bit of work out of me that they could. Ever since we won the union at our facility, Amazon has gone on the offensive against union organizing. We just saw this with the intense union busting campaign at the LDJ5 facility right across the street, and that vote failed. We also saw this with the case of Matt, an organizer at the DYY6 in Staten Island, who was also fired. The NLRB determined recently that Amazon's anti-union meetings were totally illegal. These firings aren't about whatever bull their PR team comes up with. They fired us because we were fighting for a union and because Bezos is scared of workers organizing for their rights. My firing is not only an attack against the ALU, it's an attack against all workers who are organizing unions everywhere. We see this with Starbucks, where organizers are also being fired. Shout out to the Memphis 7. Amazon doesn't even want to recognize the union at JFK 8. We cannot let the bosses do what they want and terminate us for trying to improve our working conditions. We cannot let them isolate us and pick us off one by one in the shadows. This fight must be made for all workers who are fighting for unions. They fight alongside me and my union at the ALU, as do we. No more retaliation against union organizers. No more wrongful terminations. No more union busting.
All while Christian Smalls is trying to get the supposed PRO Act to pass in Congress, right? And I don't know if you caught Franco's discussion with our executive producer, Shadowban.
He's the associate producer. Calm down. I'm the executive producer.
Whatever.
I put the stories together.
Okay.
He's an AP. That's good. He's all good. We love him.
I'm gonna demote him to best boy here in a minute. But no, he was talking about like how the PRO Act essentially makes, it essentially forces you to be part of the AFL-CIO, right? Which we all know that that organization's anti-union at this point.
They sure act like it.
I think he was wanting, he would have rather had repealing of Taft-Hartley, something like that. Hartley.
Yes.
If I can remember, if my stoner brain can go back that far.
Dude, you got a pretty good stoner brain, I have to say.
Yeah.
I got one more story, and then we get to some boats, and it's another union story, another worker story. And this one is written by the Amazon workers themselves for Popular Resistance, and this was published on August 11th. Urgent appeal for unity and mass action against union busting. We've been talking about this.
Yep.
So, here's a group of our friends, the Amazon workers in LA. This is from Reuters. They put this out. And again, this was written by Amazon workers, and I love showcasing the workers themselves, and I love hearing the voice of the people that are actually in the field and in the warehouses and in the trucks driving and that are actually working for Amazon. This is who we need to be talking to and hearing from. And we're going to be very soon. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. The national wave of organizing and militancy spearheaded by Starbucks workers and Amazon workers is the biggest upsurge in worker organizing since the 1930s and 40s. The organizing wave is spread to Trader Joe's, Chipotle, Apple, REI, and a growing list of chain stores and industries, like we just talked about. However, this uprising of workers, which holds the potential of not only saving the labor movement, but transforming it, is under life-threatening attack. We must unite in defense of these brave young workers that are the vanguard of this transformative workers' struggle. We propose these dates for coordinated mass actions across the country. September 5th, Labor Day. Organize a presence at Labor Day marches or organize your own, i.e. Amazon and Starbucks workers are planning to march in New York City, both to Bezos' house and to Howard Schultz's apartment. On Thursday, September 8th, they're planning a national virtual planning meeting for the days of coordinated mass actions. So everybody can dial in, and that'll be like well, it's probably not going to be Zoom because Zoom is hosted on Amazon web servers, but there will be a webinar for people to dial into. On Thursday, September 29th, there's National Coffee Day, which is often promoted by Starbucks. They want to create a direct action for Coffee Day. And then on October 1st, which is the 6-month anniversary of the Amazon Labor Union election victory, and International Coffee Day. These are some of the milestones that they want to organize for. The national wave of organizing and militancy spearheaded again by Starbucks workers and Amazon workers. I got that one. From their corporate boardrooms down to their worksite managers, Starbucks and Amazon are engaged in an outright war to crush the organizing wave. No surprise here. Puppies, what? Wait. No, I don't have kitties here. Squirrel. I thought somebody said puppies. I was going to say kitty, but I don't have Warren Kitty over here for some reason. Anyway.
Yeah.
Starbucks is firing union organizers, closing stores, cutting workers' hours, and denying pro-union workers wage increases and benefits. Starbucks workers are fighting back. Starbucks Workers United is still winning union elections all over the country and flexing its muscles with walkouts and strikes. Woohoo! Shout out to Starbucks United. Amazon is determined to overturn the historic April 1st Amazon labor union victory in New York City and crush the ALU. At the same time, new ALU chapters are forming around the country. The Amazon workers in North Carolina have formed Carolina Amazonians United for Solidarity and Empowerment cause and are getting stronger every day. Amazon workers everywhere, including Amazonians United and the RWDSU in Alabama, are coming together in spite of their different approaches to organizing. However, in order for these groundbreaking battles to defeat union busting, immensely greater forces must join together and strengthen them. Howard Schultz and Jeff Bezos are this year's poster boys for union busting, but efforts to crush the workers' uprising are by no means limited to Starbucks and Amazon. Wall Street and the U.S. capitalist class are fully behind this war to destroy a new workers' movement before it spreads further. Our response to this threat must be equal to the danger. It's going to require a level of mass solidarity and mass mobilization in defense of workers on the front line greater than anything we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Unified organizing and widespread mass solidarity is absolutely central to the continuation of this historic transformation of the working class movement. At stake is nothing less than the long-awaited and necessary evolution of of the working class movement from its present weak state to a more radical, militant, inclusive, and class-wide movement that is led by rank-and-file workers, is not dominated by business unionism, is not dependent on or subservient to the Democratic Party, and views all struggles as workers' struggles, including the fight against racism, access to abortion, the anti-war struggle, the struggle to stop climate disaster, and the struggle for LGBTQ 2S plus rights. That's a new one. I don't know what that 2S is, but I know all the other ones.
I don't either.
Okay, I just heard echo. What'd you just do different?
Nothing.
Okay. Also, is a vital part of the struggle against evictions and all community struggles. We talked about that recently. I've been helping somebody who's been struggling with eviction herself. Prioritizes the most oppressed workers, including migrant workers. Also, who wants to be part of a militant global workers movement and is strong enough to smash the threat of fascism. A growing section of the left is now engaged in varying levels of solidarity work with these critical worker struggles, but as of yet, the left's commitment to this struggle is alarmingly insufficient. While some of the organized labor movement are taking the need for solidarity against union busting seriously, unfortunately, most of the top leadership of the labor movement remain unmoved by this threat and have focused on electoral politics and reliance on the Democratic Party. This is not good, and it must change. Now's the time to intensify the pressure to compel that change. And there's a petition and a website that you can sign on to get involved. Again, I'll drop that in the chat now. Copy link URL. All right, so everybody can sign up and join. I've already registered my email address, of course, there. And solidarity with all these workers. Now, there is a little bit of an update to this story, which was sent to me tonight by a new friend. Let me just go grab that real quick. On Twitter, he tweeted it to me, and then I'll open up the article. But there was an article in World Socialist website published a couple days ago. What? Huh? Oh, Les Bones. What?
Don't get distracted.
No, okay.
Don't get distracted.
Hold on, I'm looking for the thing.
You
right
can do
now.
it.
I'm looking for it. I'm here.
Right there.
I got it. But I saw the other thing, and I'm like, whoa, what's that? But okay.
That's why I said don't get distracted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm just going to show you the headline here. We're not going to go through the whole article, but real quick. This is a concern. Amazon Labor Union suspends unionizing efforts in New York as Amazon continues its legal bid to overturn the election at JFK Warehouse. This was published 4 days ago in World Socialist website.
Yep.
Why? To focus on the lawsuit. Even though the NLRB has already held hearings and they'll make a decision within weeks. So remains to be seen what's going on here. WSWS condemns Amazon challenge of the vote and demands that the democratic will of Amazon workers be respected. And again, I have mixed feelings about World Socialist website. They've done some really good stuff. Also some stuff that I'm not crazy about. But here they're talking about that they are not doing very great since April 1st, and that they would support union. ALU announced that it would support unionization facilities in all these other locations, Albany and Campbellsville, and Chris pledged to give two workers at two locations whatever they need, and said they'd become formal chapters of the ALU. And again, we'll see what happens there also, and stay tuned here. But This was a really upsetting development to read today when I heard about this. But we're continuing to track and follow the story. So we have got what's going on with Amazon. Jesus Christ. Ugh. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. So, in a good thing, Amazon workers in Albany file a petition to unionize. Yay! Here we go. Hey, another Sharon Janger. Well, I love Sharon Jang. She's awesome. So, here's the workers in rally. This was at the Staten Island LDJ5 rally that unfortunately our friends AOC and Bernie happened to be at, that did not lead to a victory, but still happened. Amazon workers near Albany have officially filed a union petition with the NLRB to join the ALU after workers announced that their union campaign last month, according to the NLRB. If the workers are successful, they'll form the company's second ever union, joining the Staten Island union workers who voted to unionize in March after a groundbreaking union led by ALU, an independent union. According to the NLRB, the filing covers about 400 employees at the ALB1 warehouse. Unionizing employees need to gather signatures from at least 30% of the unit in order to qualify for a union election. In order to win the union, more than half the vote will have to be for the union. Like other Amazon workers who filed to unionize, workers are seeing better working conditions and higher pay. What a surprise. The main concerns I hear from workers about wages and safety, Heather Goodall, a lead union organizer in the campaign, told the Washington Post. Besides that, there's no job security. There's no way to rest on a 15-minute break. Workers want to be able to use the bathroom freely.
Right.
So when ALU announced the union campaign in July, the union wrote that, quote, Amazon has exploited us for too long. The only way we can pressure Amazon into treating us with respect is by uniting and forming a worker-led union. Well, we'd love to see the workers seize the means of production, so this is a good first step. The company has tried to pressure workers against voting for the union by posting anti-union flyers, messages on TV screens in the warehouse. Really? Come on. It's also held meetings that ran a slideshow with misleading claims that unions are a business that sell a service. Union lawyers so far have filed at least 5 unfair labor practice charges against the company and have accused it of illegal union busting. What a surprise.
Right.
The company said in a statement that, quote, it's opposed to unionization for its employees and that its focus remains on working directly with our team to continue making Amazon a great place to work. Yeah. Talk to some of the people in the warehouses, because they won't tell you the same thing. At least not when the cameras are watching.
No.
If the filing is certified by the NLRB, the Albany warehouse will be the 4th in the company to undergo a union vote. Another Staten Island area warehouse seeking to join ALU voted against unionizing in May after the company led a fierce union-busting campaign, and of course, politicians got involved. In March, Bessemer, Alabama, Amazon workers vote to join the WDSU ended up being too close to call, with hundreds of contested ballots that are still being investigated by the NLRB. This was the second election for the Bessemer workers. Last year, the NLRB ordered a rerun election for the warehouse after finding that Amazon had illegally interfered with the union campaign. I know we covered that extensively too. I mean, that was gross. They were literally stopping people. They changed the patterns on the traffic lights so that the union leaders could not stop the people at the traffic light to ask them questions about unionizing. That's how far they went. They worked with the leaders of the town to change the traffic light pattern. Meanwhile, the first unionized warehouse is in limbo as the Labor Board reviews Amazon's objections to the union's win in Staten Island at JFK 8, delaying the bargaining process. Amazon's been cracking down on the union inside the warehouse in the meantime, firing several worker organizers and refusing to recognize the union. Wow, this sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to talk about my friend Matt. This guy.
You'll get a chance soon.
No, we're gonna talk to Matt soon, but we posted up a tweet. I posted up a tweet. Originally, Lucy got Chris Smalls' attention about a week and a half ago. about his trip to LA, and he responded by saying, "This is what I'm doing. I'm organizing and whatever." And I said, "Look, Chris, we've been trying to talk to people at the union, anybody, whether it's you, is there anybody besides you, Derek, Angelica, whatever name, or your assistant, who you've put us in touch with that we can talk to? We'd love to talk to some of the workers, some of the leaders at different warehouses around the country. We want to learn how we can help and what we can do." And thank goodness, this gentleman, this great dude stepped up and said, "Yeah, I'll talk to you. Love to." And we set up a meeting. We set up a time to record an interview, and Colin and I had a great conversation with him. And unfortunately, we had some audio issues on my side, and operator error.
You played yourself.
Yes, I did play myself. Operator error, unfortunately. And we lost a good portion of the interview. We're going to see what we can salvage from it, but we're going to redo the interview this week. Unfortunately, as a follow-up, and what happened further on the story was that the next day after we did our interview, this gentleman started doing a couple spaces on Twitter saying that he's organizing for ALU Kentucky. And on Friday afternoon, this happened. After months of organizing and facing retaliation from Amazon, I have been terminated. Today, not even 10 minutes into my shift, rest assured we're going to keep organizing, and this is going on my long list of unfair labor practice charges against Amazon. And there's a retaliation fund there.
Fuck.
Yeah. So there has been no response yet, honestly, that I've heard from Amazon Labor Union, which is really sad.
So far, which this happened August
Friday.
19th, right?
This happened Friday.
21st.
They always fire you on a Friday. But what I want to do is put this Twitter in the chat, and I also want to put a link to the Solidarity Fund for him and for the Amazon labor workers in that facility. That's the Campbellsville, Kentucky facility. Again, we got a little bit of a whiff of what was going on in that location. Again, I took 2 pages of notes during this conference, during this interview as well. There were so many little things that they're doing, but mostly it's about hours allocation and not giving people consistent shifts, and then keeping them. Again, it's very similar to what we're hearing in Starbucks, and then the Campbellsville facility where they currently are located. And again, and we'll talk about this, and I'll let Matt talk more about this when we talk next. There was a ton of, it doesn't have the automation that some of the newer facilities have, because it was one of the original Amazon centers, fulfillment centers. And so the workers are walking 15 to 20 miles per day to pick items in that facility. And that's unlike most of the other facilities. So I wanted to mention what's happening over there. Union busting is disgusting.
Did any of them ask for like any drip? Like maybe some drip will help.
Maybe some. Well,
you know?
Well, it's drip. He could use some cash dripped into his account for sure.
Sure. Maybe some merch. Maybe some merch will help.
Yeah, I don't think merch is going to help him pay his bills right now, but merch sales might. So
even if it's like Gucci merch, I mean,
yeah, okay.
I mean,
I see what you're trying to do here. Okay, so again, Matt from the Amazon SDF1, and again, support Matt, support workers always, especially ones who are retaliated against for trying to organize their coworkers. We're gonna get him back, and we're gonna have a conversation, and we're excited to do that. And I feel just awful that we didn't get a chance to get that aired before this happened. And we certainly will talk to him afterwards, and we 100% in the strongest way, are against what Amazon is doing here. Could not be more. What's the word? It's not condone. It's the other word. We're not condoning what they're doing at all. 100%. We're completely against what they're doing here. And someone will throw it in the chat. Yeah, screw these guys. Screw them.
Yeah.
Treat your workers right. Give them
fuck you, man.
Give them better hours. And again, he hadn't been working there like for 5 minutes. This guy, it had been at least 6 months. He talked about being hired as a blue shirt versus a white shirt, and being a temporary worker, and then getting permanent status. And they used that to create a 2-class system. It was a fascinating conversation. Again, I can't wait to have it again. And what a great dude. So please support Matt, and please support any struggling workers. There are solidarity funds. The Ragtag Band at Ragtag Band has a list of solidarity funds and different strikes that are occurring and different unions that are trying to unionize and file with the NLRB all over the country. So again, shout out to all those guys, and I'm really sorry, Matt. You're getting done dirty, and you don't deserve this bullshit. And I hope that your union stands up for your rights and for worker rights all over the country. So.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?